Hello guys, Lawrence Wayne here, and this is, well, finally recording another one of these videos. Sorry about the lack of videos lately, but yeah, this is one of the many projects I've been working on while I haven't been uploading videos. So essentially, this is a work in progress, Kerbal Space Program control panel thing with lots of lights and lots of buttons and lots of gauges and things. I've actually wanted to build something like this for quite a while, but I haven't had the resources or money to build one until now. So this whole thing, as you can see, has a lot of joysticks, a lot of buttons and things. Right now it doesn't work with Kerbal Space Program, but it does run some sort of self-test routine. So as you can see, these buttons all have lights embedded in them, which will turn on when you push them for testing. These lights here are like your warning indicators and stuff for high altitude, or well, not high altitude, but like low altitude or low fuel, overheat, etc. Right now they're turned on by these buttons here because they don't have association lights. So right now these are all just mapped to random lights on the board, so I can test that all the buttons and all the lights are working. These also don't have lights associated with them, so I associate them with these. As you can see, there are still a couple bugs in the system, and slamming it sometimes fixes it. They are wiring bugs, but yeah, as you already see, these meters do respond, all except this one, which only sometimes decides to respond. I was going to only record this video when everything was working perfectly, but I realized that everything working perfectly is never going to happen, and this video would never be recorded. So yeah, there's another one here. It's a little harder to see, but come on, camera, stay focused. So right now all of these move in sync with the throttle control, which obviously they won't. These will show primary fuel and secondary fuel, which for like plane flight, this would be your actual liquid fuel and this would be your air intake. This over here is RCS fuel, and this toggles RCS normally, but right now obviously it doesn't. This would be electric charge, this would be SAS, so that's RCS, SAS, and this is brake. This is your landing gear switch, your light switch, and this is a time warp switch, which as you can see is like a little joystick of sorts. And of course, as you may have noticed, these three joysticks over here on this little screen, if my camera would stay focused, you can see that the joystick moves this little line, and so does this one. So this is a 4-position joysticks, and these are 8-position joysticks. And they currently all just move lines around on the screen for testing purposes. And there's also a switch here, which is an enable switch, which pretty much arms the stage button and the abort. Well, the abort button is always on because when you need to abort, you don't want to flick the switch. But there's some interesting properties about that switch. When this is down, this acts as a temporary brake button, and when this is up, it acts as the stage button. It also stops throttle, so if your throttle's over here and you flick this down, you'll immediately throttle down to 0. In theory, right now, of course, it doesn't do anything. These buttons are your action groups, so to toggle engines, to toggle your solar panels, extend your solar panels and whatnot. More stuff can be accessed with this keypad over here. Right now, for testing purposes, it switches flight mode between different modes. And how that would work, by the way, is these joysticks, because flying a plane is, or a rocket rather, takes a lot of controls. You need a lot of joysticks instead of like, if you want to move away from a keyboard completely, which is what I'm planning to do. So this is pitch, that's yaw, this is roll, and when you're docking, this is like move forward, translate backwards, translate up, down, left, and right. These buttons over here control the mode of this joystick. So this can also function as a mouse or a camera control for when you're not docking. And in the different rover and plane modes, this can be roll as well, which I prefer when flying a plane. And then this could like also be a quick trim shortcut sort of thing. Yeah, these are the warning lights I already explained. These obviously change if you're in plane mode or in rocket mode, because you don't need air pressure when you're in rocket mode or when you're not even in the atmosphere. That'd be kind of useless. And also more about this mode switch. It also changes physical time warp and normal time warp here, like physics and non-physics time warp. So when this is armed, this is physics time warp, which can go up to ×4, but your plane can still move, or whatever vehicle it is. When this is off, your controls, your rocket engines can't fire, you can't stage, but you can time warp like full speed. And this screen over here is a 7-segment display, as you can tell. And it's going to show you your apoapsis, periapsis, time till apoapsis, time till periapsis, your orbital characteristics and whatnot, your like altitude and whatnot. I'll show all that on here. I had a list of all the things I was planning to display on there, but I don't remember them all. Okay, let's see what's underneath this thing. So first of all, this is a big wooden frame, the big plank of wood that I painted white with like 2 spray cans. And underneath is quite the wiring. This took me quite a while to wire up, but there was a lot of planning involved and a lot of time and a lot of stuff. Basically, I'm using up almost all the I/O pins on both Arduinos here. This over here is a U, as you can see by the label over there. It's upside down right now, but all the pins on that header are being used by these switches and stuff. And sorry, I can't get my camera in here very well. All the PWM pins are also being used, except for those 2 serial pins over there, because those aren't actually PWM pins. And these analog pins, because I'm running out of pins to use for digital, these are also used as digital pins. And then over here we have this little wire which moves over to a coprocessor in charge of the 7-segment display. This controls the 7-segment display. It's the drivers for the vertical rows of the segments. And this thing's pretty busy. It's got every single I/O pin in use, every last one of them. And this over here is a keypad, so this thing also scans the keypad and sends keys that way back to the main processor, and the main processor would send all your numbers and stuff to display on the segments that way. So that obviously goes into the serial port pins down there. This thing can emulate a keyboard and a mouse, and it also has a virtual serial port over the native USB. So what I'm going to do is run a Python script thing with this KSP mod, whose name I've forgotten, that lets you send like various data about the current flights and your current position in space, pun intended, to the controller, so it can display that on the screens and whatnot. And these are all the buttons. If you've ever wondered how an arcade button works, it looks more or less like this. These have all been modified to include lights, if my camera would focus. They've been hot glued in place there. Essentially that's the only white light. All these other ones are green, because I ran out of green ones. These switches work the same way, except they don't have lights built in, because they're not transparent. This thing's been hot glued in place. There are small screws at the top here, but I couldn't bother with getting those in. These also have lights, of course, you've seen that. And yeah, there's this ground wire that just weaves through here, all the way down here into this little resistor ladder thing for these lights, which are incredibly bright, by the way. These are some of the panel meters. This one's a current meter, so I need to drive a lot of current through it. And the circuitry for that's a bit broken at the moment. But yeah, I'm just using one of the transistors on this transistor driver. And this yellow wire over here, or orange, I'm colorblind. No, not, whatever. It goes to this white wire into the DU over here, into one of the PWM pins to control it. So that's like the only thing that's controlled by that one. So this wiring is obviously very confusing, very spaghetti. It's all color-coded though. These are my camera's really struggling to focus with all this very colorful nonsense going on here. But yeah, this took quite a lot of planning, quite a lot of designing in OpenSCAD, which is what I used for this, for this project. Okay, you can focus now, camera, there we go. And yeah, I still need to put labels on these, because there's no way I'm going to remember which one of these lights is which. And getting the overheat lamp confused with the, like, gear lamp would probably be fatal. So yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot to discuss what these buttons do. These are pretty much your map and your... well, what else is there? Your pause, and there was another thing. These basically like the meta buttons. Well, not really, because map's not really meta, but... yeah. And for every option and thing that I forgot to display would be displayed on this little screen over here. For every little button I forgot that I'll be needing, it can be used through this little keypad and through a menu system which I'll have on this screen. So that covers pretty much everything you'll need to play Kerbal Space Program. Yeah. This screen's on DMA, on the DMA controller of the Arduino Duo, so it updates pretty fast. You can't really see it much because, I mean, there's only that. It's the only thing that really updates. I mean, I can push these buttons and you can see it changes pretty quickly, but yeah, it's really fast in updating, so I can actually pull all of these switches and all these buttons and control this and communicate with the PC and keep that screen up to date and keep this thing up to date. Because there's a lot of micromanagement with this kind of circuit. Even right now, it's pulling each one of these buttons to check it to turn on the lights and stuff. So yeah, I think that covers pretty much everything. I should record more videos of random stuff I've been making. This lay is partially broken. As I told you, this thing isn't finished yet. But I'm quite proud of it, and I should be able to play Kerbal Space Program with it eventually. And fly rockets with a cool rocket simulator joysticky thing. Feel like I'm on a Kerbal Space Program, like a real rocket and stuff. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and bye.